much of my head do you think you can see in this?
Oh my goodness, hello, good morning. We're talking about step 2 today. I was gonna do this all in one video, but I have this many notes to talk about, and so I think I'm gonna break it up into some separate videos just for the sake of like uploading speed and so that people can maybe watch what they wanna watch. So first I wanna talk about what I used to study and how I studied for step 2. This could honestly be like multiple videos, but I'll do a quick overview in this video. So first I want to talk about how long I studied. I took my exam on January 24th. I started studying maybe like the end of November, early December, but when I say started, I mean I started to dabble in UWorld and some Anki. I would probably do I did 5 a day or like 10 a day for a week, and then I did 15 a day for a week, and then I did 20 a day for a week until I got to January, where I really started to dig in a lot deeper. And when I used Anki, it wasn't like, oh, I unlocked every single card from the Anking deck. It was like, no, I did my UWorld and then I unlocked cards from the UWorld questions. I unlocked cards from every single question, whereas other people take the approach where they just unlock cards from things that they miss. I get nervous and I'm like, I don't actually know things and that I'll forget it or whatever. And so then I end up with 3,000 cards, which is a mistake and it doesn't usually work. But that's how I used UWorld before January, and that's how I used Anki before January. I really abandoned Anki in January because like I said, I had 3,000 cards. There was no way I was keeping up with it. So I really just put that to the wayside. But I did use it pretty consistently for about a month and a half, which some of that did help me remember stuff. So I don't think it was a waste of time to use Anki. I just typically overload myself, and that happened again, like it always does. When I started doing UWorld in January, I would do 100 to 160 a day. I would say I planned to finish UWorld. I only finished 86%. I planned to finish. This is my second pass through. We used UWorld to study for our shelf exams second year. So I've seen most of these questions before, seen them. I don't remember them, but I have done a lot of these questions before. This is my second pass through, and I finished 86% of UWorld, and I think part of it was I planned to do 160 to 200 a day, which is similar to what I did for step 1. However, I felt like to adequately review and really dig deep into the material, I could either choose to superficially review things and not know them as well, but see more questions, or really know stuff and see less questions. And I felt more comfortable really knowing stuff and seeing less questions. That's a choice that you have to make if you don't think you're gonna finish, if you didn't give yourself enough time to finish, like me. So that's what I did as far as UWorld goes. And then how specifically I used UWorld was for a while, I just only did Tutor. I didn't care how much time it took me. I was just really interested in learning this stuff, getting a grasp of what the diagnostic workup is, what the criteria is, those sorts of things. So I did Tutor mode almost exclusively until about maybe 2 or 2.5 weeks before my exam. Then I started to do timed untutored, and the timed version just gives you an hour, just like they do in the real test, and you have to finish in that amount of time. That was helpful for just getting my timing down to make sure that I would be able to do it. I found myself being able to do the time pretty fine, actually. Sometimes I would finish in 40 or 45 minutes. And so I felt pretty good about that. And once I felt confident that I would be able to finish the sections on time, I switched to untimed, untutored. This was really helpful for me from a mental perspective, because now I know a lot of material because we're 2 to 2.5 weeks before the exam. I know a lot of stuff at this point. I know I can hit my timing. Let me just relax for a second. There would be days where with the tutored mode, it tells you right away if you get it right or get it wrong. And sometimes that just really plays into your psyche. My mood was very dependent on if I got a good score or a bad score, if I missed 3 in a row or whatever on UWorld. My mood was just so tied to how I was doing on my UWorld sets that it was honestly better to just get a score at the end and not be anxious as you're going through the question. So I would say if you're starting to feel like anxiety about like how you're doing and you have a bad one, like take a step back. I had to quit studying 2 days. I had to like just be like, I'm not gonna get my stuff done today because I was just in a horrible, horrible mood. I would say as far as like my percents go, I was doing like 60s and 70s for a little while, and then like 70s and 80s for a little while, and like mostly 80s and some 70s, and then like a 60 every now and again. And the days where I got the 60s were just like bad for my mental well-being. The perspective of like, oh my gosh, there's so much to learn. I'm so glad I got a 60 today and I can like find my weak spots instead of on the actual exam is a great mature approach to take. And I did learn from my mistakes, but I would just say that like totally normal to have bad sections and just try to learn from them. And if you're having a horrible, horrible day, just like take a step back, because you're probably not gonna do better in that mood, to be honest. Like I feel like you do much better when you're relaxed. So I always did sets of 40. I never didn't do sets of 40. Even when I was studying for shelf exams, I would just like stop it in the middle if I wasn't gonna finish. It lets you do that. I don't know if you know that, but that's what I would do. Oh, and I should say that my ending percent correct was like 76, I think. And that's like with my beginning like 60s to my 70s and 80s to my 80s and 70s, finished overall with like 76% correct. Would I have liked it to be higher? Yeah. Is 76 pretty good? Yeah. Then I have never ever ever in my life used Boards and Beyond, but let me tell you, it is worth your money. I wish I had Boards and Beyond my first year of med school, because I feel like a lot of the stuff that he explains, I'm like, oh my gosh, it makes sense. And there's a lot of things in med school that I just was like, I believe you. So Boards and Beyond, I literally took like 150, let me show you. I filled a notebook with Boards and Beyond. Absolutely just all of this, Boards and Beyond. Can't say enough good things about it. I would choose per day. My whole strategy was, oh my gosh, this is just all over the place. I'm so sorry. Basically, I took a practice exam and was like, I want to get this score. My goal, I'll share with you, was a 265. That is much higher than I need to get, to be honest, to get into the program like specialty that I'm interested in. However, I just really wanted to challenge myself and show myself that I could do it, because I worked really hard. And so who knows? I haven't got my score back, but I took a practice test, and then I was like, okay, if I get 1 to 1.5 points per day for every day until the exam, then I'll get a 265. So obviously I'm not in control of what questions they give me on the actual day, but I was like, okay, I'm gonna get really good at heart murmurs today, so that if I get a heart murmur question, I get those questions right. Did I? I don't know. But the whole strategy was like, I'm gonna watch some dedicated videos on super high yield topics and like know that thing really well, so that if they hit me with that, I'll know the answer. So that's how I use Boards and Beyond. I sometimes would watch 3 to 4 hours of Boards and Beyond a day and then do my questions after. And it was really awesome when I got a question about something I reviewed that morning and otherwise would have gotten it wrong. Like endocrine is so hard for me. And then after watching these Boards and Beyond videos, I was getting my endocrine questions right. And I'm like, oh, there you go. Like, there we go. So I would recommend having like a video source or like a book resource or something that you can use to like choose topics to get really good at. I used Anki. I told you that I used the Anki deck. I didn't make any of my own cards this time around, but I have in the past. So if that's a strategy that you're interested in, you should do that. I use some Sketchy. Infectious disease is a weakness of mine. So I use some Sketchy for like farm antibiotics, and then just like bugs. I'm bad at bugs. So as far as other things that I use for practice exams, I did the free 120, and I can try to include this in the link or in the description below. And I did both of the UWorld practice tests, the like Sim 1 and Sim 2. Sim 1 was so hard, and then Sim 2 felt like more doable. So I don't know if that's what everyone's experience was, but I've heard from people I know that Sim 1 was really hard. Sim 2 was better. So take that with a grain of salt. And then I did one NBME practice test, and I will warn you against using NBME 7 because it underestimates your performance by like a lot. like so much. My timing for practice tests was the free 120. I did 30 days out. That was the first one I took. I took the Sim 1 on UWorld 18 days out, so 12 days later. And then I did the Sim 2 13 days out, 5 days later. And then I did the NBME 7 days out. I was planning on doing another NBME, but I was like really feeling like seeing more questions and covering more UWorld content was more of a priority to me than seeing more NBME questions. So that's what I did. Take that with a grain of salt. But the NBME 7, just like, that was the highest percent that I had gotten on an exam, but it was like 40 points lower. And I have seen a lot on Reddit that it just really 100% underestimates your score, which is just like not helpful to track progress and discouraging. So don't take NBME 7 unless you're just taking it to like learn from the questions, because that is fine. But it was just like not helpful, I would say. That's all I'm going to talk about in this video, because that's like a ton of information, and then we'll have like a part 2, 3, 4, etc. on like, what did the tests feel like? What do I wish I would have done differently? What did I bring with me? Test it, etc. Just, this is too long already. Okay, thanks for being here. I'll see you in part 2. Bye!